because Tupac not
I ain't as
dead.
smart as you should be.
Tupac not dead,
See, one thing people don't understand, Suge know a whole lot, knows everything.
Right.
But Suge can't talk.
For nearly 30 years, Tupac's death has been hip-hop's biggest mystery. Now, from inside prison, Suge Knight claims new footage proves everything we believed is wrong. Secrets, lies, and a shocking confession are about to collide, and one detail in this tape changes the entire story. The confession, tape that broke the internet. Yo, what's good, everybody? Look, I need y'all to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to tell you is gonna have you questioning everything you thought you knew about one of the most infamous unsolved murders in hip-hop history. We're talking about the death of Tupac Amaru Shakur, the realest rapper to ever do it, the poet of the streets, the man whose words still hit different almost 3 decades after he supposedly took his last breath. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bro, we've heard all the conspiracy theories. Pac is gone, let the man rest. And look, I feel you on that. But here's the thing. When new information drops, when tapes start leaking from inside prison walls, when the man who was literally sitting next to Tupac when those bullets flew starts talking crazy from behind bars, we gotta investigate. We gotta look at the facts. We gotta ask the questions that nobody else wants to ask. Because in late October 2025, something absolutely wild happened. A purported audio recording surfaced online. And when I say it went viral, I mean this thing spread through social media like wildfire through dry brush. We're talking X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. The clip was allegedly recorded on October 20th, 2025 at California's Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, and the voice on that tape, Marion Suge Knight, the co-founder of Death Row Records, the man who built an empire on gangsta rap, and the last person to see Tupac Shakur alive before those fateful shots rang out on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, before we dive deep into what Suge allegedly said on this tape, let me take you back real quick so everybody's on the same page. Because if you're gonna understand why this supposed confession is shaking the entire hip-hop community to its core, you need to understand what went down on that tragic night in September 1996. Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by attack on September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas while riding in a BMW sedan driven by Suge Knight. They had just left the MGM Grand after watching Mike Tyson absolutely demolish Bruce Seldon in the first round. Pac was on top of the world. That night, Death Row Records was dominating the charts. All Eyes on Me had gone diamond, and he was supposed to be untouchable. But here's where things got messy. In the lobby of that casino, there was a confrontation. Tupac and his crew spotted Orlando Anderson, a known affiliate of the Southside Crips, and what happened next was caught on security cameras. They jumped him, beat him down right there in the MGM Grand. It was street justice, hood politics, whatever you want to call it. But that moment, that single act of violence would set off a chain of events that would end with the greatest rapper of his generation bleeding out in a hospital bed. Later that night, Suge and Pac were rolling down the strip in that black BMW. They stopped at a red light near the intersection of Flamingo Road and Colville Lane. A white Cadillac pulled up beside them. And then, shots. Multiple shots. Tupac was hit 4 times. He held on for 6 days, fighting with everything he had. But on September 13, 1996 at 4:03 p.m., he was pronounced dead. Respiratory failure and cardiopulmonary arrest from multiple gunshot wounds. He was only 25 years old. Suge Knight, he survived, got grazed by a bullet fragment in the head, but he walked out of that hospital. And for nearly 30 years, he's been the keeper of secrets, the man who knows what really happened, but refuses to tell the whole truth. Or at least, that's what we thought. Because this leaked tape from October 2025, it allegedly contains Suge Knight calmly, and I mean calmly like he's discussing the weather, describing how Tupac Shakur didn't actually die that night. According to this 6-minute audio clip that first surfaced on a Burner X account called Makaveli Whispers, Suge claims there was a secret plan in place known only to 3 people. Himself, a doc, who may have been a paid-off insider at University Medical Center in Las Vegas, and someone he calls a Panther ghost, potentially an operative connected to Tupac's aunt Assata Shakur's network in Cuba. Now, for those who don't know, Assata Shakur is a former Black Panther who's been living in exile in Cuba since 1984 after escaping from prison. She's Tupac's godmother, and there have always been whispers in certain circles that if Pac needed to disappear, she would have been the one to make it happen. According to this leaked audio, a backup black Escalade was positioned 2 blocks away from the shooting scene, ready to whisk Tupac to a private tarmac at McCarran Airport, now called Harry Reid International, where connections through Fidel's old line would get him out of the country. The tape alleges that hospital records were fake to show Tupac flatlining, and a body switch occurred using a homeless individual of similar build from the Las Vegas Strip. I know, this sounds absolutely insane. This sounds like something out of a movie, but here's what makes this particular tape so compelling. Voice analysis from Berklee College of Music reportedly showed an 88% match to Knight's vocal timbre, with no signs of digital manipulation, edits, or duress. Now, I'm not saying that makes it real. I'm not saying Tupac is definitely out there somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on a beach, but what I am saying is that this ain't your typical basement quality conspiracy theory recording. This thing has some weight to it, and here's where it gets even crazier. On this alleged tape, Suge claims that Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, was in on the plan. He quotes her as saying, "Let the legend breathe." He references conversations that allegedly took place in Maui in 1996, where Tupac himself talked about wanting to fake his death and escape the madness that was consuming his life. Think about that for a second. If this is real, and that's a big if, it means that everything we thought we knew about September 13th, 1996 was a lie. It means that the funeral, the cremation, the decades of mourning, all of it was part of an elaborate deception to give one of the most targeted men in America a second chance at life. The Makaveli Whispers account that first posted this tape gained over 150,000 followers overnight before mysteriously going inactive. The clip spread like crazy on platforms like Facebook, where pages like Rapper Vibe Nation amplified it with sensational headlines that had everyone from casual fans to hardcore hip-hop heads losing their minds. But wait, there's more, because this confession tape doesn't just claim that Tupac is alive. It also indirectly addresses one of the most persistent theories that's followed Suge Knight for decades: the accusation that he himself was responsible for Tupac's murder. See, for years, people have whispered that Suge had Pac killed over money. There were rumors about unpaid royalties, about Tupac wanting to leave Death Row Records, about Suge being afraid of losing his biggest cash cow. Some people pointed to the fact that Suge was barely injured in the shooting while Tupac took 4 bullets. Suspicious, right? But if this tape is to be believed, Suge wasn't the killer. He was the co-conspirator in an escape plan. He wasn't trying to end Tupac's life, he was trying to give him a new one. The narrative completely flips. Instead of being the villain, Suge becomes the ultimate ride or die homie who helped his artist disappear when the heat got too intense. And look, Suge has been hinting at this for years. This ain't the first time he suggested Tupac might still be breathing.
You know, I'm the mother when people ask me if I know who killed Tupac, and not saying Tupac dead or alive, but I'm saying if they ask me if I know who killed Tupac, I'm the said, hey, absolutely not.
You hear that? Tupac dead or alive. That's not the language of a man who watched his friend die. That's the language of a man who knows something the rest of us don't. And he kept going.
Because Tupac not dead. Tupac not dead. If he was dead, they'd be arresting those dudes for murder. You know he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on the island somewhere.
Cuban cigar. Highway. Think about those words. Cuba has been at the center of Tupac conspiracy theories for decades, largely because of Assata Shakur's presence there. And Suge just casually drops that reference like it's nothing. That's either the most elaborate troll in hip-hop history, or the man is telling us exactly where to look. The Makaveli Code and the clues Tupac left behind. Alright, so we've established that this supposed confession tape from Suge Knight has the streets buzzing like never before. But here's the thing, this whole Tupac is alive theory didn't just pop up out of nowhere in 2025. Nah, fam. The seeds for this conspiracy were planted by Tupac himself almost 30 years ago through one of the most cryptic and haunting albums in hip-hop history, the Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory. Let me break this down for you, because the level of detail here is absolutely wild. First, let's talk about that name, Makaveli. Tupac adopted this alias after becoming obsessed with the writings of Niccolo Machiavelli while he was locked up in Clinton Correctional Facility in 1995. Now, Machiavelli was this Italian Renaissance philosopher who wrote The Prince, a book all about political strategy, power moves, and here's the key part, deception. There's this widely circulated belief among Tupac's fan base that Machiavelli advocated faking one's own death to outmaneuver enemies. Now, historians will tell you that's actually a misinterpretation. Machiavelli wrote about disseminating words that dishearten your foes during conflict, not literally staging your own funeral. But whether Tupac knew the accurate interpretation or not, he clearly connected with the concept of strategic deception. And peep this, Tupac deliberately misspelled the name as Makaveli instead of Machiavelli. Conspiracy theorists have been rearranging those letters for decades, and guess what they found? The letters can be rearranged to spell Am Alive K or K Alive Ma, with the K being interpreted as a reference to being killed killed, but actually alive. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you stack it up with everything else, it starts looking a lot more intentional. Now let's talk about the album itself. The Don Killuminati, The 7 Day Theory, was recorded in just 7 days in August 1996 at Can-Am Studios in Tarzana, California. 7 days. And it dropped on November 5th, 1996, less than 2 months after Tupac's supposed death. The whole project is drenched in themes of death, resurrection, betrayal, and spiritual transcendence. It's like Pac was writing his own eulogy, while simultaneously leaving a treasure map for anyone smart enough to follow the clues. The number 7 keeps popping up everywhere, and believers say this is no accident. Tupac was 25 when he died. 2 + 5 = 7. He was shot on September 7th, 1996. His official time of death was 4:03 p.m. 4 + 0 + 3 = 7. He was allegedly the 7th artist signed to Death Row Records. The album has 7 in the title. Everything circles back to that number. Some theorists even connect this to a supposed rule from Makaveli about waiting 7 years after faking your death before returning. Now, there's no actual reference to this in any of Machiavelli's writings. It's complete myth, but it's become such an integral part of the Tupac conspiracy lore that people were genuinely expecting him to resurface in 2003, 7 years after the shooting. Obviously, that didn't happen, but the believers just adjusted their theories and kept waiting. Then there's the album artwork. Designed by Compton artist Risky Forever, real name Ronald Brent, the cover shows Tupac crucified on a cross, evoking the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. At the bottom of the cover, there's a phrase that sends chills down your spine. Exit Tupac, enter Makaveli. Read that again. Exit Tupac, enter Makaveli. That's not subtle, fam. That's Pac straight up telling us that Tupac Shakur is done, finished, gone, and something new has taken his place. If you're looking for evidence that he planned to shed his identity, that line is Exhibit A. And the lyrics? Oh man, the lyrics are something else entirely. On the track Blasphemy, Tupac raps about brothers getting shot, coming back resurrected, coming back resurrected. He recorded that weeks before he got shot. Either he had prophetic visions of his own death, or he was planting seeds for what was about to go down. Hail Mary opens with the line, Makaveli in this, Killuminati, all through your body, blending Illuminati conspiracy theories with death themes in a way that suggested Pac saw himself as waging war against unseen forces. The Killuminati wasn't him joining the Illuminati, it was him killing it, destroying it, rising above it. One of the wildest tracks is Bomb First, My Second Reply, which actually opens with a fake news report announcing Tupac's death. The news report plays, says Tupac is dead, and then, boom, Pac starts rapping. It's like he was showing us exactly what was going to happen. The media announces his death, everybody mourns, and then he's still here, still spitting, still alive. And here's something else that keeps the conspiracy fires burning. There were no music videos produced for this album. All Eyes on Me had videos. His previous albums had videos. But the Don Killuminati? Nothing. Theorists argue this was intentional. You can't film music videos if you're supposed to be dead. Any footage of Tupac post-shooting would blow the whole escape plan wide open. Now, let's connect this back to the 2025 leaked tape. According to the alleged audio, Suge claims that Tupac has been scripting hints in music and appearances for years. The tape references alleged footage from a 2004 recording session in Mexico City with Nas and Jadakiss, where Tupac supposedly ad-libbed the lines, Vegas nights, slip the noose. It also mentions a 2019 Havana recording where someone rasping in Tupac's distinctive voice allegedly said, Puffy's puppet, flip the script. Now, I gotta be real with y'all. There's no verified evidence that either of these recordings actually exists. Nobody's been able to produce the Mexico City footage or the Havana audio. But the fact that these specific references made it into Suge's supposed confession suggests either an incredibly elaborate hoax or details that only someone with inside knowledge would have. The tape also allegedly claims that the bullets on that September night were real. Tupac was actually shot, but the escape was seamless. While the world watched news reports of Tupac fighting for his life in University Medical Center, the real Tupac was allegedly being spirited out of the city through a network of loyal contacts. Speaking of sightings, let's talk about all the times people claim to have seen Tupac after his supposed death. There have been reported sightings in Cuba, Mexico, Malaysia, and at various events around the world. Nearly a dozen such reports have circulated since 2001, often accompanied by blurry photos or grainy video that believers swear shows the unmistakable face of Tupac Shakur. The Cuba connection is particularly strong because of Assata Shakur. Rapper Tretch from Naughty by Nature once cryptically stated, "Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba," though it's unclear if he was being serious or just feeding the legend. Either way, that quote has been dissected and analyzed by conspiracy theorists for years. years. And then there's Suge's own son. Suge Knight Jr. posted, and then quickly deleted, Instagram content in 2018 and 2019 claiming that Tupac was alive and living in Malaysia. He even shared doctored photos showing Tupac alongside celebrities like Beyonce and 50 Cent. Were these just attention-seeking posts from a famous father's son? Or was he leaking information that he'd picked up from prison visits with his dad? But here's where we gotta pump the brakes for a second and look at this with clear eyes. Because for every piece of evidence supporting the theory that Tupac is alive, there's a mountain of official documentation saying otherwise. Las Vegas Police Department dismissed the 2025 confession tape as fairy tales, pointing to the existence of a real autopsy and stating there's no evidence whatsoever that Tupac's death was fake. Amaru Entertainment, which is Tupac's estate run initially by his mother Afeni before her death in 2016, has reportedly reviewed the tape for potential defamation claims. And let's not forget, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was arrested in September 2023 and charged with masterminding Tupac's murder. This dude literally talked himself into handcuffs. He wrote a book about it. He went on podcasts bragging about being in the car. He did documentaries. Why would police arrest someone for a murder that never happened? Why would prosecutors pursue a case if the victim was actually alive and well in some tropical paradise? The answer, according to believers, is that the cover-up runs deep. So deep that even law enforcement is either fooled or complicit. That's a hard pill to swallow for most rational people, but for those who've spent decades analyzing every frame of footage and every bar of lyrics, it makes perfect sense. Suge Knight's prison empire and the truth he'll never tell. All right, let's bring this whole thing home by examining the source of these bombshell claims, Marion Suge Knight himself, because understanding who Suge is and what he's facing helps put this entire situation into perspective. Suge Knight is currently serving a 28-year sentence at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California. He was sentenced on October 4th, 2018, after pleading no contest to voluntary manslaughter in connection with a 2015 hit-and-run incident in Compton that left businessman Terry Carter dead and actor Clee Bone Sloan seriously injured. The sentence breaks down to 22 years for the manslaughter charge, plus an additional 6 years because of California's 3 strikes law, stemming from his prior convictions. So let's be crystal clear about something. Suge Knight won't be eligible for parole until October 2034, at which point he'll be 69 years old. If parole is denied, his full release date would be around 2043. The man has decades left behind bars, and that context is crucial when evaluating anything he says. But here's the thing about Suge. Even from prison, he maintains influence.
Still got people that's taking care of him, got money. He buying women's cars from prison.
He bought a woman a car from prison?
Yeah, he buying women cars from prison.
Okay.
So where do you think he getting his money from?
You heard that right. According to people who know him, Suge is still making moves from his cell. He's got connections. He's got people looking out for him. And most importantly, he's got information that people want to hear. And that brings us to a crucial question. Why would Suge Knight suddenly start leaking information about Tupac now, after all these years? There's actually a documented history of Suge considering using what he knows about Tupac's murder as leverage. In an interview, private investigator Scott Ross, who worked on major cases including Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby, revealed some shocking information about his time working with Suge's defense team.
He was trying to figure out how to raise some money. He said he didn't have any money. And in order to do that, he was talking to me about trying to sell either the information, do a book, something about the Tupac shooting. And those are the types of conversations that we had.
So we know for a fact that Suge has contemplated monetizing information about Tupac's death. The question is whether the October 2025 confession tape is part of that strategy or something that slipped out without his consent. But here's where it gets complicated. People who actually know Suge don't believe he would ever fully cooperate with authorities or reveal everything he knows. Why? Because doing so would implicate himself.
See, one thing people don't understand, Suge know a whole lot, knows everything.
Right.
But Suge can't talk because if Suge talk, Suge implicate himself in 99.9% of the bullshit that was going on. So Suge could never talk.
That's coming from Mob James, a former Death Row Records affiliate who was deep in that world. And his point is crucial. Suge Knight isn't just a witness to history. He was an active participant in the chaos, the conversations, the beefs, the decisions that led to that night in Vegas. Suge's fingerprints are all over it. So even if Suge wanted to clear his name by proving Tupac is alive, he'd have to explain his own role in whatever conspiracy existed. And that explanation could potentially add years or decades to his sentence.
He can do everybody understand. Everybody already knows Orlando.
Right, exactly.
But Suge know that Suge can't just say it was Orlando Anderson. You know and I know who's ever interviewing him gonna go way deeper into the situation that, well, who was it, Suge? No, Suge gonna have to explain. He gonna have to elaborate way more than what by just saying Orlando Anderson.
And that's the trap Suge finds himself in. He knows who pulled the trigger. Most people in hip-hop circles accept that Orlando Anderson, the same guy who got jumped at the MGM Grand, was the shooter. But confirming that opens up a whole can of worms about what led to that moment, who gave the orders, and what role Suge himself played in the escalating tensions. Now, the 2025 leaked tape adds another dimension to this. If the tape is authentic, Suge isn't just protecting himself from murder accusations. He's allegedly claiming to have helped orchestrate an elaborate escape. That's conspiracy, that's fraud, that's potentially dozens of other charges that could be brought against him if authorities believed the tape was real. But maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe the tape is designed to be so outlandish, so unbelievable, that nobody in law enforcement takes it seriously. Meanwhile, it generates massive attention, keeps Suge relevant, and potentially sets up future media deals. In July 2025, People magazine published an interview where Suge made other bombshell claims that Afeni Shakur gave Tupac pills in the hospital to end his suffering at his request, that she insisted on immediate cremation against Tupac's wishes, and that Suge paid $1 million for it, after which friends allegedly smoked the ashes mixed with marijuana. That last detail has been floating around for years actually, but Suge putting it on record adds weight to it. And here's the thing, if Tupac was actually cremated, if his ashes were actually consumed by his closest friends, then there's no body to exhume. There's no DNA evidence to test. The physical proof of Tupac's death is literally gone with the wind. Convenient, right? Too convenient, some would say. The October 2025 tape also allegedly contains indirect accusations against Sean Diddy Combs. Suge claims on the tape that Diddy pulled strings on the white Cadillac involved in the shooting, with Keith D as the hand and an East Don's nod sealing the plot. This aligns with long-standing rumors about Bad Boy's alleged involvement in the East Coast-West Coast beef that claimed both Tupac and Biggie, and Suge has never been shy about blaming Diddy.
But at the same time, Puffy can give him a mother star, and every rat in the world said he didn't want to kill Tupac or had him shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you notice, it was a rat on television saying he didn't want to get the shooting, this happened, that happened.
So where does all this leave us? What's the truth buried underneath all the theories, all the leaked tapes, all the cryptic hints? Here's what we know for certain. Official records confirm that Tupac Shakur died on September 13th, 1996. An autopsy was performed. A death certificate was issued. His mother had him cremated. These are documented facts that have withstood nearly 3 decades of scrutiny. We also know that Keith D was arrested in 2023 and charged with murder, which wouldn't happen if prosecutors believed the victim was still alive. The criminal justice system has officially treated Tupac's death as a homicide, and someone is currently facing consequences for it. But we also know that Suge Knight has repeatedly, over many years, suggested that Tupac might still be breathing. We know his son has posted and deleted claims to the same effect. We know that Tupac left behind an album full of resurrection imagery and numerical codes that seem almost impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The October 2025 tape might be the most elaborate piece of evidence yet in the Tupac is alive theory, or it might be the most elaborate hoax designed to generate attention for a man with nothing left to lose. Las Vegas PD has called it fairy tales. Experts warn about the ease of creating convincing fake audio with modern AI tools. But here's the thing that keeps the true believers going. Suge Knight is the only living person who was in that car when those shots were fired. He's the keeper of the truth, and until he goes to his grave, or until Tupac himself walks out of the shadows, we'll never know for certain what really happened on that September night in Las Vegas. The legend of Tupac Shakur transcends music. It transcends hip-hop. It's become a modern mythology, complete with its own codes, its own symbols, its own mysteries. And maybe that's exactly what Pac wanted. Maybe the greatest rapper who ever lived understood that immortality isn't about staying alive. It's about never being forgotten. Whether he's resting in peace or smoking that Cuban cigar somewhere on the island, one thing is absolutely certain. Tupac Amaru Shakur will never die. Not in our hearts, not in our speakers, not in the endless debates that will continue for generations to come. Well, that's it for this video, but don't go anywhere because we've got plenty more heat for you. Just tap any of the cards on your screen right now and keep it locked.